What we have here today, a very special guest, Valentina Garcia Montaño. And I wanted her to be on the Four Bites show because every time I talk to Valentina, I learn something. And I've been learning from her for 20 years, since Tempo, where she was knocking out pastry and the line, and going to Lombardo and other places, but also coming up with Che Garcia Chimichurri, her very own product. Wait.
Yes, I see.
No, here. No, you. Yes.
There
So
it is.
not only is she like pulling down a paycheck and developing products, I mean, this woman has a motor. You'd almost never know that at the whole time she was being a single mom, raising a kid and getting it all done. But I mean, yes, we are here to praise Valentina, but most importantly, we're here to learn from her. So I'm going to shut up now and say, thank you for joining this adventure.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, be a part of this. Makes me happy. And to share everything that we do with all of you is always a pleasure.
I knew Valentina originally as the Argentinian. That is not quite correct technically. She was born in Houston, but then moved to Argentina and spent her formative years there. Why was that?
That is true. I was born in Houston, Texas, and both of my parents were from Argentina. So then I went to Argentina with my dad when I was 3, and I came back to the States when I was 21.
And what brought you back here?
I got pregnant, so I was going to have my daughter Martina, and I needed my mom near me to help me, and she offered her support, and I was like, you know what? I will definitely take that, because it's not an easy thing to be a single mom, and you can take all the help you can get. And I needed to, make sure that I could give my daughter the best.
How old was she at that time?
She was in my belly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, you were thinking ahead. And when you came here, you were living in Buffalo?
Yes, my mom was here in Buffalo, so that's why I came to Buffalo, New York, to stay and be with her, and that's why I got started in the restaurant business.
Well, how old were you when you worked in your first kitchen, do you think?
About 21.
And you were on my radar. You ended up at Tempo, one of the most prestigious fine dining restaurants in the city, at 28 years old.
About 26.
26.
Yes.
Okay. Well, just for people out there who don't quite understand this, let me break this down for you. That's kind of like going from a walk-on player on a farm team, AAA team, to like being called up to the show at Yankee Stadium.
That's right.
Just so you know.
So
Okay.
I had a friend, she knew the owners, so she got me an interview, and then we went from there. I got hired. One of the first event that I actually worked for Temple was the Iron Chef, Jeff Zakarian. Iron Chef Jeff Zakarian.
Oh yeah.
Wedding was in Lewiston, and Temple catered it. So that was my first ever event.
Wow.
Like everybody was there, and I didn't even know who they were. Bobby Flay, everyone was there. I just didn't know who anybody was.
And you got to rub elbows with some people.
I didn't get to rub elbows, nothing. I was just quiet in the corner in the back doing whatever. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't even speak English.
But to get from that point, I mean, obviously you have motor. I mean, at what point did you decide this is it? Kitchens is going to be my thing. I'm going to be a cook.
I always loved it. I always loved cooking. So I never thought about it as a career. I just was like natural. But here there was a possibility of me like, okay, I can do this, and I will feel like I'm not working ever because I love this. So it was like great. And then I decided to go to culinary school, and I think that was the smartest thing I ever done. I loved it. And then after that, a lot of connections and things happened.
Sorry, which school?
Culinary school in ECC.
Oh, yep, another proud product of the Erie College Culinary Program.
Yes.
When you were there, were they doing the dinners at the Statler Room at the city campus?
I went to North, Main and Young.
Okay,
I don't think we did that back.
yeah, they added that on later. Just so you know, people out there, the ECC downtown campus has a gorgeously outfitted dining room where you can go and students will feed you really good food that would cost you twice as much anywhere else in the city.
We definitely did that at North Campus, in the North Campus. It was called the Airy Room, so you were able to go and eat, and that was part of the class for sure, but it was in the North Campus, not downtown.
Well,
So they
thank you
both
for-
do it.
That's very cool. I'll have to put that in the end notes, but I don't want to interrupt because I did. When you got to the place where you were running your own ship, I mean, what was the first time you got to set the direction? As a person in charge of the kitchen, the chef.
First time that I was the chef in charge of a kitchen was at Ristorante Lombardo. That's when I became an executive chef. Tommy saw the potential and he believed in me and he gave me the chance, and he was like, okay, I can do this.
So at this point, you have gone through from the ground up, basically every step in the restaurant business. And you did this while you were holding down another job more important to you, which is as a mom.
Yes.
And you were telling me some stories before we were talking to me about what that meant to you, but maybe you'd feel like sharing.
It hasn't always been easy. As everybody knows, restaurant industry is one of the hardest industries, and the hours are crazy. So you have to get creative and try to fit what works for you and your schedule. And so the possibility of doing the pastries at Tempo opened up, and I thought that was great for my schedule. So I'll be done when my daughter got out. So I did that for about 7 years. And then you just, things start lining up and you have a little more time. And then, I was always doing the line as well on the weekends when my mom would help me and babysit. And also a close friend of mine, we raised our kids together, Mimi, Mimi. Shout out to her because she was a huge part of my daughter's upcoming and bringing. And thanks to her, I was able to do all the things I did, her and my mom.
So an important ingredient of you being able to do this was you had a support system. You had your mom,
Absolutely.
you had the Mimi, it was a group effort.
Yes. Takes a village, like they say.
Well, that is something that, I think a lot of people would like to be able to figure out how to get people to help them out. So now you're in charge of a kitchen, right? At Cucina. So
Yeah, so it's a completely different time of my life. My daughter is 21 years old. I'm free. I have freedom, so I can really focus on my career, and I can dedicate everything all the time that sometimes you just can't because you have other priorities. So I felt like it was the right time. Everything happens at the right time.
And if you're not familiar, Cucina is the fine, it's definitely fine restaurant in the Richardson Hotel, the landmark made out of sandstone right next to Buffalo State. Used to be it was a mental hospital, but now it's got a hotel and a couple of restaurants, and Valentina runs the big one. How would you describe the menu?
I wanted Cucina to feel like classics, food that everybody can relate to, nice and Italian, not like your typical Buffalo Italian, a little more like traditional Italian. But everything fresh, homemade, classics done right. Nothing is too crazy. You know, I can get a little creative and have fun with my specials, and I do all the time. And the Spanish comes out a little more, the South American comes out a little more on the specials, but the menu, it's most likely classic Italian, homemade pastas. Everything is made in the house.
But with that Valentina touch, I mean, one of the things I definitely
course.
noticed about what you have got going there is your use of bitterness. Now, a little bitterness in the right place really, I think, helps a lot of dishes. And, you know, life's like that too, right? There's a
That's what I
bitterness.
was
and you
gonna
gotta-
say.
it's- Everything is
Amargo
balanced.
como la vida, bitter like life.
And I appreciate it. It's like, oh, this menu has an adult section. That's nice. It's not just the same blandy bland. How do you use bitterness in a dish?
I think that if you balance it with the right acid and salt, bitterness could be lovely. Like, so bitter and acid balance each other out. A
Well,
lot of lemon juice.
tell me about a dish on your current menu where you use that.
The roasted radicchio is one of them. I put a lot of lemon juice and then it hits the grill, so the like acid kind of caramelizes too, so it balances the bitterness in two ways. And then some really funky cheese goes right on top, and so gorgonzola dolce.
So radicchio is that green head that's already kind of bitter.
Yeah, it's the purple. It could be many colors. The one I use is purple. But yes, so you get the lemon, the creamy cheese, and then I finish it with sweet candy hazelnuts. A little nocciola croccante.
I think that having a little bit of bitterness on an overall table of a meal actually, frankly, let's just be honest, it helps you eat more
Yes,
somehow.
and it kind of balances out all the other dishes. Like it kind of goes well with a lot of other things in the menu as well. Like if you get veal or rib or certain of pastas, obviously pizza. So it's really good as a side dish, complimentary to no matter most, and not everything, but most of the things that you could order.
You know, I know you're a pretty shy person, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you to point out the dish for sale on your current menu that you would say is got the most Valentina in it.
Oh, definitely. It's called the salmogrillo chicken. It's a beautiful half of herba verde chicken, and salmogrillo is like Italian chimichurri. So I love salmogrillo. So I marinate the chickens for like 24 hours and then we grill them. And one of my chefs, Abdul, he's the pit master. He's the one that sits outside and cooks these chickens till they're perfect. And I learned some grilling secrets from him as well. So I'm like, oh my God, I went up there and I saw what he was doing. I was like, okay. His secret is he puts onions in the charcoals. So then the chicken gets smoked with like oniony smoke. And it's one of the best things I've ever had. So I was like, okay, Abdul, we could do this. So the salmogrillo chicken is like asado, you know, one of my favorite things to do, but at the restaurant, that's the closest thing I can think about. And then we serve it with some farro and Swiss chard. It's nice, wintry, cozy comfort food, and it's the best chickens. So I really love it.
Well, shout out to Abdul. Where's Abdul from?
Abdul was brought to the family from my sous chef, Greg Blando. I used to work with Greg at Temple, and Abdul is Greg Blando's childhood friend. Partner in crime, you know, all of that.
No,
He's,
I just wondered if he was from some international.
yes, his background, and I'm not exactly, I know he's from, I'm not exactly sure, but
Okay, I'm just, you
I
know.
gotta ask you. We always
I-
talk about it, but I don't want to say something that's not.
Oh, don't, I'm sorry. I hate to put you on the spot. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I was asking because I never
But he grew up in
heard,
Buffalo. Dooley grew up here.
I've never heard of that before. And I have been a student of things you can do to meat with fire
Same, I
for a
think,
long time.
I've-
And onions in the coals, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
right? I thought I knew everything about grilling too, because that's all we do in Argentina is grill with charcoal, right? And then I go out and he's got his own moves. I was like, okay, I'm going back inside. You got this.
So as a cook who's always trying to learn and grow, it's got to be great to be in a
I love it.
position where like you're in charge, but people can still teach you things.
People teach me things every single day.
Well, and you can soak it up. So what
Absolutely.
you were talking about Argentinian stuff. I mean, what do people in this country, or let's say Buffalo, understand of Argentinian food? What does it mean to them?
I think number one, empanadas and asado. And then all the other like South American native kind of dishes that are famous and popular, but not most people know about. But if you're from Argentina, you know what I'm talking about, like locro and humita and
I don't know what those are. Can you explain, please?
well, humita is a dish that you do at the end of the summer when it's corn season and it's fresh grated corn. So it's like basically fresh corn grits, grated corn, and you cook it with squash and onion, tomato, a little bit of milk, some sugar, and then you finish it with cheese. It's very, very delicious. And then locro is a traditional soup made with beans and white corn like mote and intestines from any animal, you know, cow or pig stomachs, some pork belly, all the crazy things that nobody eats that we eat. And it's very delicious. And squash, so it makes it super creamy. So it's beans, squash, and potatoes. It's amazing.
So how much are tickets to Argentina?
1,300 round trip approximately.
Okay, just check.
It's like a 19-hour flight. It's long.
I guess when I think of Argentinian food, I do think of piles of meat, but the asado is a specific thing. Could you tell us
Yes.
about what makes an asado distinct, barbecue wise?
Well, asado means grilled. Basically, it's super simple barbecue. You started with logs of wood that you burn into like really coals or embers, or you could just start it up with just charcoal as well. But we like both. And then you just grill things. And so traditionally you start with things that you know, you start cooking the meats that take longest, and then you start putting on the grill little things that are gonna cook faster. So you can start munching on like chorizos and morcillas and sweetbreads. And then my favorite thing is the chinchulines, which is the beef chitlins, basically. And some people go really fancy and braid them. You soak them in a little salt water and you kind of clean them up. And they're very crispy and fatty and they're amazing. So you eat those things first, while the ribs that take forever, you know, they slow cook. So it's like a long eating process. And you drink wine and, you know, just hang out.
So when you say chitlins, you mean intestines?
Yes. Chinchulines is like cow intestines.
Well, I mean, in you know, using every bit of everything, I suppose.
Exactly. It's sustainable.
Is what are some of the differences in the Argentinian diet as opposed to the American diet that you've observed?
I think Argentinos, especially now, like we make everything. We buy ingredients and we make food. We don't so much just buy food. I mean, yes, you get your pizza and your empanadas when you don't feel like cooking on Sunday, but we still a culture that cooks a lot. And like everybody knows how to make things. Like if you want to eat it, you can look up a recipe and you make it. We're very hands-on with daily cooking. I hope that the newer generations still are, but that's how it was in my time.
Well, you spent a lot of time in Argentina on a ranch, essentially. So the daily cooking was something that you took part in.
Exactly. It's so natural. That's why I never really felt that it was work when I was cooking in the kitchen. And then I went to culinary school and then you just learn like how to organize yourself and how to be more efficient at it, not just like being a good home cook. Obviously, you learn the business aspect and of it, which is always amazing, but it always felt supernatural.
So as a chef now, as an executive chef, you're in charge of a brigade. Roughly how many people?
About 12, 13 people right now in the
Mhm.
culinary team, from dishwashers to chefs, prep cooks, everything.
So as somebody who's worked well in some of the most high pressure kitchens in town, I mean, and gone through the other experiences in your life, like how have you decided to run a kitchen at this point?
I treat it like a big family, you know, we are here, everybody has an important role, and I try to focus on everyone's strengths. If you're better at me than doing this, then you're gonna be doing that. I love that. And then people feel proud and they take ownership of that because it's their little responsibility. And you have to, you know, give the power out if you want people to respect it and take it seriously. You know, nobody likes to be micromanaged, and obviously you gotta, you know, stay strong and firm and have standards and always reinforce everything that you need to be done. But it gets to a point where your team understands it and you don't even have to say anything because they all know what your expectations are, how do you want certain things done. And then you're always gonna be there to see it if you know, if something didn't get done. But for the most part, it's my team is amazing and we all get along.
And what are some of the things that you can do to like keep people like that around? I mean, if you can't necessarily, hey, come up with the money for like $2 more an hour, what are some of the things you can do to help build a team?
The money always helps, but it's also that like how you make people feel special and treat them. They feel like work is a second family, and eventually there's a lot of grow opportunity at the hotel. So people, they prove themselves and then they have the possibility of move on and grow, and they know that. So it's great. It's just a little different here. So there, I'm in Cucina, so it's great.
So aren't you working at cross purposes against yourself here if you encourage someone and you coach them and you teach them things and you help them grow? And then they leave and you have to fill the position.
It's life. I'm glad that they got better. No, but they don't leave. They know because I'm the best boss. Good luck trying to have another boss like me somewhere else.
I bet that you could use another half dozen people in there and go big. I mean, just this is not to be construed as any criticism of your current employer. I'm just asking, I want to ask like, what is Valentina's dream setup? Somebody says, here, Valentina, here's $10 million. You can only spend it on building your own restaurant. What do you build?
Oh, wow. I will start with like the greenhouse and the farm. Like I want to grow all my own things, at least for a little portion of the time, like with the seasonal part, that would be amazing. And then the kitchen of my dreams is the kitchen with no equipment. I would love to cook everything with fire. I don't want a stove and things like that. I love cooking with fire. Everything.
Wood? I mean, would you wood fueled fire or
Yeah,
what-
wood.
Yeah, I mean, when you guys cooked in Argentina, would you gather, was it basically local hardwood that you were cooking over?
Yes, quebracho is one of the hardest woods that is very popular that we use for asado. Quebracho blanco, or then there's a lot of other different woods, but like we would just go and grab like little dried bushes and chop them all up. And like every day my grandmother would go and grab some wood, and we also heat up the hot water tank with wood fueled. So a lot of different things. And then obviously nice hardwood for grilling and smoking and all that. Quebracho.
Are you any good with a chainsaw?
No.
Oh, well, there's
It's
one thing.
heavy. It's not my favorite tool. I'm scared to death. With an axe, yes.
Oh,
I don't like those big motor that it scares me.
It-
But I
what are
like
the
big
other-
knives.
so one of the other things I wanted to ask you about was you sell a delicious sauce, and it's called chimichurri. And when I first picked it up, the Che Garcia, I was like, isn't chimichurri supposed to be green?
well, yes, and most people know chimichurri as the green one, and the green is very authentic as well. The red one is a little more popular from Cordova, the area where my family's from. So it's a little more north. It's same like green, but it then has a little red spices, a little paprika, smoked paprika, and crushed red pepper to make it a little spicy.
And I mean, what's the classical use of that in
Oh,
Argentina?
yes. And first, number one most classic use of the chimichurri is for the choripan, which is a grilled chorizo sandwich. That's number one. I love also making chimi mayo for dipping for every single thing. We use it for lomitos and fries and all that. Also for empanadas, if you want to dip something in, you know, people are always looking for dipping sauces. Chimi mayo is a good one. And then obviously for grilling and barbecuing, I use it as a marinade on certain things, and for others, it's just as a finishing touch.
When people bring it over here, though, I mean, they find other applications. I mean, you were talking about.
Oh yeah, people tell me all the time, oh, I put it on cornbread, and I never would have thought about that. Or they tell me that the things that they do with chimi that I think it's so crazy because my mind would have never gone there, and it actually is amazing. Or some people tell me, oh, I bought it, it's still in my pantry, I don't know what to do with it. So I'm like, okay, well, here's all the things you can do with it.
So do you have your stuff about a YouTube channel that people can look at?
Do when we started Chimi, we did a little YouTube channel. It's called Che Garcia's Kitchen. We have like nice videos like shrimp tacos and bison chili and dips and burgers, easy ways to use chimi. So, and I think they're fun recipes. And then we also have other like churro recipes and other things that are not exactly chimi related because, you know, not everything has to be chimi related.
If you were going to be able to bring one more Argentinian delight, like not just a sauce, but like another sandwich besides the choripan, like what would be the next thing that you'd be like, this is the Argentinian thing you should know about?
Yeah, it's called the lomito. For us, tenderloin, because it doesn't have a lot of fat. It's not like our favorite number one choice of meat. So we use it for sandwiches because it's very easy to bite and chew. Like when you know, like you bite your steak sandwich, you don't pull the steak out, it just cuts perfectly. So we do a lomito sandwich is slightly pounded thin sliced tenderloin. You cook it in la plancha in your cast iron skillet really quick. And then the bread, it's more like it's similar than a French baguette or pan sobado. It's like a pan de agua, like very crispy in the outside and fluffy in the inside, like the Puerto Rican
Crunchy.
pan sobao. You know that bread? It's very similar.
Oh yeah, that's
So,
about the
or
water
some
bread.
people make it on Arabic bread, like flat pitas too. So it depends.
Oh.
Like there's different styles of lomitos. And
I would try all of those.
so, but listen, it's like steak, ham, cheese, a fried egg, lettuce, tomato, and usually it's this like, you know, pink mayo, it's like mayonnaise and ketchup, but in my world is chimi mayo. So that's my version of the lomito. It's
Lord,
incredible.
let
Then
it
you
be
toast
so.
it, and it's just like amazing.
From your lips upon the land, let it be so. Let this come to pass in Buffalo. Bring us this sandwich,
Amen.
we pray.
Que así sea. I'll make you some, don't worry.
Well, the thing is,
For the rest of the people, right?
yeah, I mean, you know, listen,
It could be a new bar item at Cucina. I'll make some lomitos and we'll have a lomito night at Cucina and I'll let you know.
pinky promise.
Yeah, Pinky.
Yeah, we're just sitting next to each other in the same restaurant.
I was
We're
like,
actually right.
Can we go out for lunch and do this? I'm gonna need your help with the computer things.
We absolutely are. So I just to let the rest of you in on this. Right now, we're sitting in Buffalo Tikka House, beautiful Bangladeshi Indian restaurant in downtown Buffalo. The snow is falling gently, which is nice because we already found safe parking spots. And if you have a chance, it's right across Main Street from the medical campus. You should come in here and check out the food because, well, you'll be hearing more about the food, but just a little shout out to our host right now. What do you think of the place so far?
So far, outstanding. They have amazing chai tea, and I'm obsessed with chai. I've been drinking it for a very long time. You could taste like it's homemade. It's incredible. And the bread selection, it's amazing. And the lentil soup was to die for. So far, amazing.
I've not previously been acquainted with the kind of naan that has stuff with the fresh coconut. The
Yeah, that was incredible.
Peshwari,
My first time
Peshwari.
trying it. Sweet.
Anyway, so we're chatting about food. We're having discoveries. It's not the worst way to spend a snowy afternoon in Buffalo.
No, it's wonderful.
But where do you want to go from here in this conversation? I mean, what would you like to talk about? This is your chance to like be like, you know, say something about something. I mean, you said that you got a fresh shipment of Che Garcia in. So you've been selling this sauce for how many years now?
About 7.
7 years.
Yes.
What has the experience taught you about being a small business person in America?
I love the opportunities like so we got to sell chimichurri in the places where people knew me, they knew who I am, they knew my story, so it was easier for them to sell it because they can relate and they see me. So I sell it at the co-op and at Dashes, Premier Gourmet. So like now I kind of got into the nice places here in Buffalo. I feel like trying to figure out what the next move is as far as like going out of Buffalo, and it's been kind of challenging because you have to still work and do a lot of things, just baby steps, Jimmy, it's a baby. It's not really super big still, even though I've been in business for 7 years and they're still, I feel really blessed because this place has been buying my sauce for 7 years. That means that people are buying it, more and more, and I see the growth, but it's still in a small scale. So I'm trying to figure out what do I do next, to go to the next step. And that's been kind of challenging. I never really knew anything about marketing when I started doing this. I just knew how to make sauce. So learning in the process.
What have you learned about marketing so far?
That the word of mouth, it's incredible. And also when you do demos, when you go out there and let people try it, people get so excited about it and they taste it. And once you taste it, that's it. You're hooked. So, I mean, that's the hardest part.
So where can you get your stuff today at a retail setting?
Right now, the best 2 places to go get it is Dashes Markets and the Co-op and Hurdle and Elm Applications.
You're on the shelf.
Yes.
It's like you made it in
Oh,
Buffalo.
and also Farm Shop Buffalo. My friend Kelsey, she has it at herself. I'm also at Elm Street Bakery in East Aurora. Where else do we have chili? There's a little shop in Lewiston, Sergeant Pepper. It's a hot sauce store in Lewiston that Jimmy's there too. So that all comes out, and also in the website, all the places that you can go. But I feel like everybody knows Co-op and Dashes. You can find it there all the time. Those are my main 2 retailers.
Well, it is my intent to get you to spell out every single place people can find it so that people can find it, because I feel like my role here is like letting people know that this amazing sauce was made by this amazing person, and that should make it taste even better when you try it. So
yes, and I also have friends like AJ Giordano from Wingnuts. He ran a little special for that. Like, so people have supported my sauce. Dino developed from ABV, did a chimichurri burger and did some chimi mayo. Over the years, my friend chefs have shown me their love and their support and helped me out spread the word. And I really appreciate them for that.
if you could
Chimi wings.
magically-
Chimi wings are really good.
Ooh, where can we get chimi wings?
I don't know. Culture Bay used to do it.
Okay.
Mr. Bar used to do it. I don't know if they're still doing it.
I consider the lack of red chimi wings to be an unconscionable gap in the buffalo wing repertoire, and I hope that the universe takes care of that.
I hope so too. Let's set it out in the universe again.
Hey, listen, I got a fry daddy. I got a bag of wings. We can work it out.
Exactly.
How much of it have you sold so far? Do you ever keep count of like, because I want to
yeah.
have a
So
party for
This
your
is how I
1,000th
know.
show.
I made 5,000 labels in the beginning.
Mhm.
So, and we ran out and we had to make more labels. So I sold over 5,000 jars.
All right.
Nice.
Well, here's to the next 10,000.
Thank you.
All we got to do is like get you going on the Food Network because, hey,
You know, they called me, they were gonna interview me to do this restaurant, Italian chop thing, but then they never called me back. So I was like, okay, she called me and I was in the middle of service. It was Friday at 7. They're like, do you know anything about chefs? Like, do you know that we work? But I couldn't really talk. And then she's like, okay, I'll call you back. And they never called me.
oh, well, it's their law. Who calls a working restaurant person at 7 p.m. on a Friday night?
No,
Okay.
I was excited. It was about Cucina. It's about Italian, which I mean, I've been an Italian chef for 20 years, so I can whip up some Italian food real quick.
Well, if anybody from the Food Network eventually hears this, she's still working at Cucina, and if you call her when she's not working, she'll probably talk to you.
In the morning, it's always better.
The morning's better. Yeah, good idea. So what does your kid think about the Red Rods business? Is she gonna follow in your footsteps, you think?
My daughter she's an artist as well. She has her own crazy view ideas of what she wants to do. She wants to have an Argentine cafe and do sandwiches and baked goods and things like that and call it Café Sol, which means sun, which is what's in the middle of the Argentine flag. Is the middle of the flag is the sun, and the sun comes out for everyone. So
Oh,
she wants it to be called Café Sol, and she wants to sell empanadas, and like she's of the era of trendy. So she wants to do all the cool, trendy little things like choco torta and this, and like all the different little Spanish, Argentine, Italian influenced, native, because Argentina is a melting pot. Like here, we have so many different cultures that build our food, you know. It's Spanish, it's Italian, it's indigenous, is a lot of things. Arabic. You know, one of my favorite things is empanadas árabes. They're like a triangle, but the real name of these things is fatay. You know fatay?
Arab.
Yeah. And that's like the number one, my favorite empanadas. I make the dough, I make the lamb filling. It's like kibbeh, like you get the ground lamb and season it with lemon juice till it's cooked, basically. And then you fill it, the pastry with it. You've had those. I made them for you.
I just realized that one of the greatest things about talking to Valentina is that every time I talk to her, I become unfathomably hungry for things I had never heard of before. And then she
Get
submits
excited
them
about food.
sometimes. No, I mean, I'm enthralled. I just, you know, I hope it's blessed. I hope that she can bring a second wave of Argentinian stuff while you're, holding down the fort and, earning health insurance and stuff like that.
Hopefully the dream is one day to do the right thing and make the food I want to be making. So
Okay. Well, when the billionaire comes along, you'll let us know.
I just need the investors.
This reminds me, so your chimichurri is called Che Garcia.
Yes.
And the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, I wonder if anybody give you a hard time, from a Che Guevara reference. They're using a communist.
Yeah, I know everybody.
But then it turned out I had it completely wrong.
So Che in the Argentina world is how we say hey. So for me, it's like, hey, Garcia, it's like, Che, Andrew, Che, Vale, Che,
Che.
that's how you get someone's attention.
Che.
It's like, hey,
Che.
hey, Garcia.
Che.
So it was like, I feel like that's how most people knows us by is the Che, boludo, Che this, Che that. Entonces, it was like a funny kind of like name. So you don't always have to take yourself super seriously,
Well, and Garcia is your family.
Yes. And it's my last name. It's also my business partner, Ulises. He started the chimichurri with me. So it's his last name is Garcia and mine is Garcia. So it made sense.
Yeah. I mean, it makes obvious sense. Now I'm just, okay. I just want you to get that cafe going. I need empanadas. I need all these things now. There's a lot of pressure to put on you. Maybe we start with just the one special on the bar menu.
That's all we need.
Yeah, just give us a little, a little niche.
Get it
And
going. We're actually redoing all the menu at the bar, trying to freshen it up and gotta just change it little by little. So Lomito sounds like a perfect fit.
once it proves that Argentinian food sells, then it's more interesting
Oh, it
to
does.
people.
And it's a steak sandwich, so I mean, it doesn't matter what you call it. Steak sandwich is a steak sandwich. People will love it.
I still think about one of the greatest barbecue moves ever that you showed me in the asada, which is taking half of a sweet bell pepper, hollowing it out, cheese, chorizo, chimi, right? And then just let it cook over the coals for several hours.
Yes. That's a very popular side dish. And I love that the next day in the morning, and sometimes you could put an egg inside the pepper too. So the egg cooks in there, but it's still, even if you cook it for 2 hours, it's still gonna be a little runny on top. It's amazing. I don't know why the pepper just is a shield of, it just makes it perfect. And then you can eat those in the morning and you still taste that asado and that smokiness and that comforting. I don't know, I find like when you cook with fire, it's just so primal, like you just feel connected, you connect to everything. I don't, and you smell that again, it's just like,
What is the name of that pepper dish? What do you call it?
pimiento
Really?
relleno, pimiento con huevo.
Okay. I just remember,
My cousin Julito calls it something, I can't remember what they call it. Oh, it calls it cholupa. It's not like the Mexican cholupa. It's different.
well, chili brothers, chubby.
I don't know what he calls it that, but
Anyways,
it's
I
a
just
stuffed
remember-
peppered egg.
I just remember the first time I walked into your backyard, and previously I had only seen you in chef's whites. And I come around the corner and Valentina has got this fire going in her backyard. And I walk up and she's got a rack of Memphis cut trimmed ribs that was still with the membrane on. So what I had previously understood about barbecue in that point is that the membrane needs to be removed for increased tenderness. So like a complete jerk, I went over to her and said, "Hey, you left the membrane on." And she's like, "Yeah." And then it was like, oh, maybe she knows what she's doing. And it turned out like one of the things I learned that day from visiting Valentina was that if you cook it low and slow asada style, that membrane turns into like a cracker, which is a delightful addition to the various textures that you get. But how long does it take to get to that point?
Yes, you got that right. That's the crispy part. That's my favorite part of the ribs. Approximately 2 hours. Cook them slow, on the bone side, like you said, for like an hour and 20 minutes, and then the other 40 and 60 on the other side. So till they break, so that when you fold the ribs, they break apart, and that's how you know it's done. They're not as, they still have a little bite and they get a little bark and they get all that, it's still tender, but it's not as fall off the bone like the American style ribs, super slow cooked. But it's still very tender and crispy at the same time.
Well, it's going to be tender because it hasn't had time to dry out really, because
Yes.
it's a low fire and you're like 4 inches off the coals. Are you using wood or briquettes or a combination?
I like wood. I prefer wood. But if I don't have wood, I do charcoal. I just like lump, like nice quality charcoal if you don't have access to beautiful hardwoods.
Looks like you are quite busy working on it. And do you like to eat lunch or something? I can make it. So,
Actually, we're doing a thing right now,
yeah,
but we're going to eat after 2 o'clock.
after two.
Yeah,
Because
we got to get
gonna-
back to this. I don't mean any
Is it closing?
disrespect.
because I'm leaving about 2 for break.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
we'll
I
talk to
can-
you later.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we will eat later because if you decide it.
Say
Oh,
hi.
Say hi.
Hi.
He's the chef.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
We're, We'll get right back to you.
Oh, okay. So at 2 o'clock.
Yes, sir. We're gonna eat at 2 o'clock.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
Well, he's a big deal. This gentleman was telling us before we came in here how he was one of 10 candidates picked out by one of the international hotel chains,
Yes.
Marriott. Did I get that right? Anyways, here he is.
Yes.
So is there another way we can figure out how to derail this? So if Janice Schlau and Margaret, who are still here, and if you're still listening, do you have any questions that you would like to put to Valentina? Because I see that we're at 1:47 here. If you'd like to unmute and actually converse that way, that'd be fine too. If you'd like to pass up on that, you could do that. So if at any signal from Janice Schlau or Margaret that you want in on the conversation, you could actually talk to her. You could tell she's not shy. And she's just got
not shy.
she's got buckets of information to just dump over your head. And it's always something from her. I'm learning something.
It's always fun and amazing talking to you. Learn so much as well.
Here's one of the things I learned that really impressed me. That you told me that you earlier in your life had put 3 years into studying to be a large animal veterinarian, and what eventually persuaded you not to continue in that was it was hurting you emotionally. You didn't want to be in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a criticism, it's not a weakness. It's like that's who you are.
I couldn't deal with the emotional part. Like you want to think sometimes that you're so tough and so good at certain things, and you're like, oh yeah, I got this. But then certain things happen and they get to you, and you're like, I don't know if I have this. So that was kind of, it was hard. Yeah.
Well, not everybody's good at every bloody thing. You
No,
know?
it was one of the hardest things I've ever done was to go to vet school for 3 years. It's just-
Janice says, I thought the show was just lovely. I learned so much from Valentina. See, that's what she's like.
Oh, thank you so much, Janet. I'm glad.
And Janice, who
Need any
knows
help
something
for
about
anything?
running a restaurant and being a darn fine first-class cook herself, you can still try her stuff if you get to Cucina. Or, I'll bring you takeout.
Just bring her along next time we do a party. Oh, there she is.
Hello, Margaret.
Hello. This was so interesting. Thank you. It's great to meet you. And we have not yet been to the restaurant, but absolutely we'll be there.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you too. And I hope to see you soon at Cucina. Let me
Yeah.
know, let Andrew know when you're coming.
Okay. I'll do that.
I'm curious, Margaret, what part of town do you live in? Or
We're in the Elmwood Village.
oh, okay.
Oh,
So
that's
it's just,
so near. That's perfect.
So near, yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
yeah.
you could take a dog sled there by now or something.
It's a beautiful building and a beautiful space as well.
Yeah.
That's more we can
There- There's nothing like that space. And glad it finally got a chef worthy of it.
Oh, thank you. I tried. I tried my best.
Well, hey, listen, from listening to this, I've known her a long time, but as a critic, you don't do anybody favors by blowing and gassing them up and making more of them than they are able to pull off consistently. And that's why Valentina is a first-class person, because she will bring it.
I
So-
really appreciate that. Thank you
Yeah,
very
well.
much.
Anyways, do you guys have anything you wanted to ask about? I'm talking to you, Margaret.
Yeah, I know it. I don't know if we have anything to ask. So I guess one thing I'm wondering about is you're in charge of and I stepped out for a minute, so I'm back in. You're in charge of the menu, both at the restaurant and at the bar?
Yes, right now, yes. I am in charge of the restaurant and as well as the bar, and we're trying to redo nice little bar snacks and offerings as far as Cucina and the bar as well. Make it nice and seasonal.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was here when you were talking about maybe doing those little sandwiches, which Thank you, Andrew. I think if we can encourage her, that sounds delicious. Yeah,
Thank you so much. We will.
yeah,
This is what I get to do sometimes, when you realize that cooks are capable of much more than is on the menu, is trying to figure out a way to just
And this is the
Ji-
food that I want to be making anyway. So
shimmy
I'll
it
do it
into
happily.
reality.
yeah.
And if anybody else is listening out here, this is the one that has eluded me the longest. So my Hungarian friend had the paprika princess taught me that lengos, which is a Hungarian snack food. The paprika princess, her name is Aninko Marshall, and she makes lengos, which is a Hungarian street food. It's brilliant. It's a potato enriched fried dough that gets rubbed with garlic water and then sour cream and a lot of shredded cheese over it, like an aged Gouda.
Yum.
I'm just telling you, this thing is the craziest street. I was like, why isn't this here? And the product cost should be low.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw that out on the waters of hope as well.
That too.
So Margaret, thank you so much for showing up for this, and actually asking questions. That's how, I was thinking this might go eventually, but you're the first person to actually show up, listen, ask questions, partly because of the brilliance of the guest, I know. But thank you for doing what I hope people would do.
Yeah, I hope more people hear about it and join.
Well, look, this is like the fifth one, so I
And this is
figure,
the first time I've been here, so
I figure a year from now, more people will have heard of it, hopefully. Plus, there's a media campaign designed by the brilliant Luke Copping, LUKECOPPING photography. That's going to be rolling out that he did for me, with me, and I will be quite unmistakable upon the social medias shortly. So I'm sorry in advance. You already bought it. You're going to be like, enough with this guy. But I'm trying to get a few more customers.
good. I hope so. Thank you for this.
Thank you for your
Thank you
support.
very much.
And everyone,
For your lunch.
Thank you. I'm excited.
we're going to eat.
We're gonna eat.
We're gonna eat. Yay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
It's a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.